Camp Concentration is my first Disch, and that's because Disch is really hard to find out in the wild, so when I came across this book, I got very excited because I could finally experience Disch, which has been praised quite often here on BookTube, and unfortunately I think I just started with the wrong Disch. The book was originally published in 1968. To me it feels like The Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes, which I've already read and reviewed on this channel, but made Disch. I do feel like this book is pretty indicative of his writing style, and honestly for the first 2/3 of the book it was pretty decent. First 2/3 of the book tell a story of a poet that America is at war. Because when isn't it? Because this is written in 1968, it does feel very much like an anti-Vietnam book, which, fair. And America's at war with literally everyone. They're committing biological warfare as well as regular warfare, which, again, feels very anti-Vietnam. Everybody's getting conscripted into the military, and the book's protagonist, Louis Sanchinetti, is a poet who is a conscientious dissenter, and instead of being conscripted into the military, goes to jail, because if you don't go in the military, you go to jail. And for his moral reasons, he is going to jail, because, you know, he's super liberal. Woo. Book starts out with him in regular prison, starting to write a diary. The whole book is in a diary-style format, with the main protagonist writing entries to tell the story of what is going on to him. And he starts out in a regular prison, and then he, for some unknown reason, gets transferred to Camp Archimedes, which every time I hear, read, or think that word, I just think of this. So that was super amusing. Completely separate reasons. But he gets transferred to Camp Archimedes, where he is proposed to be a go-between between the experimented on prisoners and the higher-ups in the prison, the people running the prison. And like I said, for the first 2/3 of the book, totally cool story, really interesting premise. Again, feels very much like Flowers for Algernon, except where Flowers for Algernon, very much a book about humanity, about the cruelty of humanity, about the kindness of humanity, about the trials and tribulations of all types of humanity, and how you should treat everyone with the same level of respect. Or at least that's what I got from that book. This feels very much like anti-war, very much like an anti-Vietnam, anti-war book, and an anti-theological book as well, because the main character talks a lot about Thomas Aquinas. The main character is an ex-Catholic, ex-Christian, or former Christian, and he does a lot of theological, Disch makes a lot of theological references in this book. Disch overall makes a lot of references in this book. To me, this book feels very much like Disch is writing to his preferred audience, because if you are not as well read as he was or appears to be in this book, you're going to be lost a lot. Even in the first 2/3 of the books, the number of references he's making to works of literature, to great painters, to great writers, to great theologians like Thomas Aquinas, like, if you aren't erudite enough, this book is going to be very difficult from the get-go, in my personal opinion. Not to mention when it gets to the last third of the book, and there's like a 10-page section where this book just flips after a significant event in the book. And I almost just DNF'd it at that point, because I understood the reasoning for it. I understood the reasoning for it based on the events that had happened prior to that 10-page section. But it was so difficult to read, to like try to get through that section to get to where it made sense again, that I just put it down for about like a couple hours, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick it up. The book itself did not take that long to read. It only took like 3 hours for me to read, which I know I read faster than most people. So it is a 180-page long book. So, and I do like the diary entry style books. I do find them most of the time a lot easier to read and to get through. But like I said, the first 2/3 of the books, I had most of those references that he's making. I understood the anti-war sentiment. I understood the anti-theological sentiment. But again, it got to that one section. I was just like, There is, you know, some language in here that is very much a part of its time, or a little antiquated, because this was written in 1968, especially when it comes to individuals of other color besides white. So, I mean, if that's something that's going to bother you, maybe don't read this. But yeah, that's my review for this book. I guess to me this would be a perfect 5. It's like got enough there to have been an interesting read and an interesting introduction into his writing style, but also wasn't good enough to where I was just like, I don't want to read it again. I never want to read it again. I wouldn't really recommend it unless you want to read a perfect 5. But that's what Matt calls it. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5 stars, so it's meh. Which is what I gave the Einstein Intersection. It was just like, eh. But if you like Disch, give it a try. If you like The Flowers for Algernon but wanted it to be Batman, darker, moodier, with more, you know, drugs, sex, and untoward language, there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was interesting to y'all. Please recommend down below the next dish you think I should consume, because this obviously was not it. And maybe I'll find it out in the wild. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, bye! Bye.